Você ficou olhando pra ela, não. Alright, hey guys, we are Freddy and Andressa, and this is our Methodology Mondays. Welcome everyone.
Guys, welcome. This is our first one. We're gonna do this series of short lives so we can discuss and talk about a little bit about methodology, our own method, and also remember that in our Telegram channel and our Facebook group, you guys can suggest topics or whatever you want to know or want to talk about for us to bring in these Methodology Mondays for you guys.
Yeah, as you guys are a lot of people, and although we have this series going on, it's once a week. So the more topics you guys suggest, we can try to organize to be able to bring all of them here, or at least as most as we can.
So we received a suggestion in the Telegram channel. So if you're still not in our Telegram channel, go there and just you can just click in the link in our bio in our Instagram, for instance, or you can search for Zouk Methodology by FNA, and then you're gonna find our channel, and then you just join us. There's a lot of information there. We put a little bit more of information there than on the Facebook group, because it's more of a straight channel that we can just record straight off the phone.
Yeah.
So if you're still not there, just go there to be even more up to date with everything. And through that, we received a suggestion from Cheryl of something very interesting that we can talk about today that really align of the way we build our methodology since we left Brazil. So I'm gonna read to you guys her suggestion.
Yeah, just before you read it, just to make it easier for everyone to find these channels Andressa just told you about, everything is listed in the description of this video. So if you go through the description, you can find all the links over there.
Yeah. So Cheryl said, how to get people to social dance in a more complex manner, not just moves wise, but the emotions, the understanding music, and etc. I think In Asia, we still have a long way to go compared to Brazil. So we're gonna try and go through that a little bit regarding our experience teaching in Brazil, teaching outside Brazil, not only in congresses, but like building communities, dancing communities outside Brazil. We are gonna go try and put our minds, like what we think about it and what our experience was, and hopefully we can help you guys also, either if you're learning or teaching and also want to know a little bit more about it as well. Okay, so she suggests also something that is related but a little bit different is how to older people social dance different from younger people. Other than energy difference, how do we bridge the gap? So this was another suggestion from her in the same message. We're gonna see if we have time to get there. Okay, if not, we can bring it in another moment and talk a little bit about it as well in another chance. Okay, guys. Yeah, so we usually divide things like in a way that, in our experience, that we have different type of cultures all around the world, and usually we have people who are from a movement culture and people who are from a non-movement culture. And what this means, for example, for us Brazilians, it means that since we were kids, like we used to see a lot of people dancing close to us or on TV. Every party people were dancing something together, at least moving to the music, you know. It was not something that was restricted to dance schools or things like that, you know. So we have the carnival parades where people were dancing on the parades, and you have the street carnival where people were dancing on the street to the sound of music. So it's something that we feel
it's part of our day-by-day life.
Day-by-day life, exactly. And it goes to everything. It's like we have these like holiday parties, like for example, most of our holidays has a traditional dance, right? We have São João,
the
that
folklore
is like,
there are so many different dances involved in this. There are just too many. The culture itself is too rich dance-wise, with rhythms, music, and all this stuff. And then it's like it becomes something natural for everyone that lives under that culture to kind of, although not everyone is going to be able to dance or have dancing skills naturally, but they are familiar.
Yes.
You know?
So even as a spiritual way, like most of the African religions that are very widespread in countries like Brazil, Africa itself, of course, and other Latin countries like Cuba and most of Latin America, their cults, even like the worships, involves a lot of dancing and a lot of, so it's something that it goes really to many levels of the daily life, like many layers of the daily life, as Freddy said. So it's something that we say that for those reasons, we say that it is a movement culture. And if you stop to realize, for example, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Brazilian side, because that's like what we really have experience talking about. But if you see a Brazilian person walking, a Brazilian guy walking, and a European man walking, like a Northern European man walking, you're gonna see the difference just in the way of walk. Like
trying to get the extreme so that we can see clearly.
Yes. So you see that they like cadencia. How do you say? Do you have a word
Cadence,
for that?
Yes.
Yeah, the pace that they walk and how their body moves to the walk.
Swing
like
of the walk. You know, like
it is different. You know, it is a lot different, and it's once you work with movement, you start to pay really close attention to that, like the way people move in their daily basis, the way people stand up and sit down in these different cultures.
Even the way to speak, even the way of speaking involves a lot more movement. So
and then you guys are going to say, oh, but there are European like dances, for example. Of course, there is the waltz, the ballroom is very strong. The other like swing dances in North America as well, of course, but the structure is a little bit different, right? The way to move is also a little bit different. And again, it's something that is restricted to a dance class, a dance room, it's something that it doesn't go out to the daily life as much.
You need to be interested in those things, then you go for those things, then you find them there in those particular places.
Yes. And the other way also plays out because, for example, you don't see people, you don't see a very strong culture of like ballroom, like the traditional European ballroom dancing in Brazil. We don't have that as much. We don't have anybody that we could see, like you don't see a world champion in like ballroom dancing that comes from Brazil. It's like it would, I think, like in a general, of course, everything that we say here, guys, of course there's exceptions, right?
Of
like
course.
we understand that there's like all the personal levels that will influence in this as well. But in general, I think it would be hard for us as Brazilians to perform dances that require a little bit more of like really, strong like alignment in a way that we can really do this as if it was our own. That's what I mean. Okay, it's not that we cannot do it well, but as if it was our own. It is a long way to get there. It's possible, of course, but it is a long way to get there.
It meets the idea of like, because Brazil, it's a culture from moving culture, the learning process is also different. Than when we bring dance there, it's more based on places where the culture is not strongly a moving culture. Then the learning process is also different. And then when you cross them, we have some difficulties, like in the learning processes and in the teaching processes.
Yes.
And this is, I think it's more, goes towards to the questions, the topic that you shared, because it's like, how do we make those people, like for example, let's use the non-Brazilian reference as we are talking about Brazilian dance, Brazilian Zouk in this case. So how do we make them dance with the same way, with that vibe, with that energy, or, because one thing we see that we can get to technical parts in a way with non-Brazilians and in another way with Brazilians. And we can get the energy, excitement, all this stuff in a way with non-Brazilian, in another way with Brazilians.
Yeah, and it's like, guys, we just want to make clear that we are not saying that one thing is better than the other, okay? We are just stating the differences, and differences are not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Okay, let me just accept, there's people asking to join here in the group. I'm just going to accept them so they can follow our conversation as well. And if you guys have any questions or any inputs, guys, please let us know. And we are going to talk about it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this is the thing with the movement culture, right? It's like we have this setup, like because of our upbringing and background, that is like we see, we feel, and then we do. We repeat. We don't necessarily know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what Andressa said. That doesn't mean this is better, because it can be much worse too.
But
so it really depends.
We have this because of this like cultural background, and it's like the teachers who are from movement cultures, they tend to show. They tend to do a lot of like showing and. Try to transmit a lot of the feeling. Sometimes use a lot of the ludic. Is that guys? There are days that my English goes out on vacation, and I'm like totally depending on Freddy to help me out. But bear with me, okay? So they go a lot to the imaginative concepts and things like that, and they rely a lot on things that are more subjective, or it's really more of like do it and let's like do it again, and without necessarily
look at this, so this is how, so then you do it again
without necessarily taking the time to stop, give a logical, detailed, broken down, very technical explanation.
So with a teacher like this, when they do it like this, it doesn't mean that it's a bad way, because it also works. But then, like, if I'm from a movie culture, I identify myself with that explanation. And for me, that's it. That's all I need. And I go for that. But if I'm not, then I'm like, I'm completely lost in here. Like he's showing many times the same thing, but I don't even know how to make the first step. How should I step? You know.
So it's like, and in a no-movement culture, for example, they give more time to these explanations. You know, you tend to talk a lot, and to really make sure that the numbers are there, that the math are
Things
there,
are
that
clear.
the mechanics are there. You know, and then sometimes this can be understood by a person who comes from a movement culture, that it's a little bit square, the class is a little bit square, you know, the teacher talk too much, I don't have time to explore, you know, and things like that. So it's like, I want to do more with the music, more time. So it can create this lack of patience when you are coming from a movement culture and learning from a teacher from a non-movement culture, or the other way around also happen. You know, when you are a teacher from a movement culture, sometimes you cannot access your students' needs because they don't need you to show it again. They don't need to try with the music one more time. They need you to go there and break down, like angle by angle,
And go specific.
you know, what they are doing. So those are the difference that sometimes it may clash. It may happen a cultural clash in classroom when those things collide, you know. So for us, Fred and Andressa, we came to this realization very early because we left Brazil. We were teaching in Brazil already for a while. Freddy was teaching already for a long time. I was teaching for a while already. We are people who have very analytical minds. So for us, it was not a hard transition to come and teach outside Brazil, where usually people need a little bit more of specification of, you know, really proper technique and breakdown. But we really found that it was necessary to kind of create like a hybrid methodology, so to speak, because we like and we appreciate a lot the step-by-step, the breakdown, the mechanics,
the engineer breakdown, you know, like,
yes.
So you have like all the numbers, all the timing, all the way of stepping, everything really super precise.
But at the same time, we when we started to really adapt our methodology to attend those needs, at some point we got a little bit frustrated that we were like, oh, we need just, they are doing everything right, but we need to make them like dance more than movement.
The vibe
They're
of Brazilian Zouk
doing
is
the
like,
movement, not necessarily dancing the movement. So we understand that sometimes it gets a little bit of a frustration, you know, like, okay, everything is going right, everything is correct, but where's that sparkle? Where is that thing? So we realized that we really needed to
find a common ground.
Balance, find a common ground between those things.
Balance both ways, you know.
But the way we like to do is that first we assess everything in the comfortable zone of the culture that we inserted in. For example, an Asian culture or even a Finnish culture, they are very analytical. They like the structure. They need this and they are used to this, and most of them learn better this way. But then we have to have a little bit more patience because we start addressing feelings, emotions, you know, like energy, and breaking down some cultural barriers that subconsciously exist.
After they are more comfortable
with the mechanics of things,
they have a more solid base, more structure, you know, to work with. So then they don't need to think so much about the math behind the movement. So they can now give attention to this, like, okay, I want to put a little bit more out of my feeling, you know, like, so when I wanted to look like this, or I wanted to look more sensual, I wanted to look more badass, and I wanted to look kind of shy, I don't know. Depending on the feeling, on what you want to communicate, then they can focus a little bit more on the emotional content of the movement after being more comfortable with the math behind the movement. So this way, it's easier, you know. We found it a little bit easier to make that happen, to add this flavor a little bit after for people that are not so immersed in a moving culture where they live.
Yeah. So we are always suggesting them to listen a lot to music, for example, because I think the better way for you to understand music in a more in a more like in the way that it goes more to your senses than to your mind is to listen to music, because of course that we can break down. You have amazing like musicality classes and explanations with the beats, how the beat work, how the counting work, how the number work, and then again you can dance very well using only those elements. But sometimes you're gonna feel that there's something missing because you are kind of like stuck in a math.
Yeah.
But the best way to access that is to listen, to really listen. It's very hard, like this music understanding that goes beyond the music math and the music structure is something that is really hard for you to put in someone. Yeah. It's like you have to kind of give the incentive for this person to listen a lot and try and connect with the type of song or with the lyrics or with the voice or whatever it is that moves them. And you know, by listening, you start connecting every time more to the music. And I think the musical understanding comes a lot from it as well. But again, if you're worried about steps and technique, you're probably not even listening to what's going on.
Yeah, that's the thing. You will focus a lot on understanding all these details and all the perfect math in the music structure to work on your musicality, so you understand the beat, you understand the time, you understand everything. But then if at some point after you have a clear understanding, okay, you feel like, yeah, I got it. If you don't start exercising, like not thinking about it and more letting it flow, you end up thinking too much. And then if you dance and think at the same time, they don't go together, you know, like, so you need to dance and the thinking mode is flowing, you know, in the back. It cannot be in the front, you know, like thinking mode and you move, thinking mode and you move, because it makes you stuck, make your dance like repetitive, because you're all the time buying time to make something happen.
Yeah.
You know?
So how do we do that at the school, for example? Because we like a lot to talk about how we do things at this school, because we don't really think that workshops and congresses work as references for that, because this is a process. And we believe that to follow someone, to really help someone to develop in a process, you need to be with that person or with that group of people from the beginning until the end. There's not an end, but like during the journey.
A follow-up during the journey.
So what we like to do, like at the school, we have some classes that when we are explaining the patterns, when we're explaining the concepts and the techniques, our class is very like technique oriented. It's very like mechanic oriented. We don't give any concept or technique without a why and a how. So why does it work like this? How exactly does it work? This is very important for us. And we build our methodology on that, and we always save some classes or some spaces in the classes. It depends on how things are progressing with that specific group, to let go of it. So Freddy sometimes even say like, unleash the monsters.
Unleash the monster. Do whatever you feel like.
I don't care if it's right or wrong. I just don't really care. So this part, when we are talking about getting there, getting to this more emotional way of movement, you know, instinctively way of movement, this is important. This type of practice is maybe as important as all the other technical aspects. So we would highly advise you guys, if you teach and if you teach in a non-movement culture, to set aside some time to do this type of class, or set aside some time within your class to do this type of exercise, in a way that you're going to exercise freedom. Of course, that the way we think about exercising freedom is to exercise freedom within the technique.
This is very important, because like as Andressa said, sometimes I say, unleash the monster, do whatever you feel, just move the way it comes to you, the feeling comes to you. Of course, prior to this, we work in a structure, we work in something, it's not like just like go crazy, like start doing whatever you feel like out of Zouk. No, we are still in a Zouk class, and we are working inside of a structure that we are addressing in the class. The only thing that I want now is that I don't want the students focusing on doing the movement correct, because they already understood. I want them to relax. They are allowed to make mistakes. That's why they are learners, and they are learning, and in the learning process they will make mistakes, but sometimes those mistakes, they become really minor, because they bring so many other things that are valuable and good to be added in their dance, that when it's all over, we say like, okay guys, you guys did this and that, so keep all of those things and let's just correct this little thing, and then we fix that thing. The dance gets in a completely different view, the energy is better, everything is better. But then of course, that's not the natural. That was something that we helped them to bring out, yeah, something that we help them to bring out. But then of course, the next class, it will tend to disappear. So then it's our job, to like trying to keep helping them to bring it out. Because one thing that I always say, I make a parallel like that. If I have a tree full of leaves, I can cut those leaves and shape the tree the way I want, or the way it's gonna be beautiful. But if that tree has no leaves, or maybe 3, it's much harder to make those leaves grow, So then we need to feed a lot, and this is a much slower process. It can work, but it takes longer time. So when you take the barriers, allow the mistake, they relax a little bit of those responsibilities of I need to make it correct. They sometimes bring a lot of leaves, even some extras that you're not going to use, but then it's okay. Now you have a material, So this is like why we can do this kind of thing. So it's always with the responsibilities, because we don't want them just going crazy anyway, because it's going to be useless.
Yeah, everything is done within the structure, within the Brazilian Zouk structure.
Yeah.
But then we allow for these moments of, more emotional content inside the dance, a little bit working with different energy music as well.
Yeah.
This is something that is very helpful type of exercises, because to understand the difference between speed and energy, and usually if you put a higher energy song, this is naturally they are gonna move more, they are gonna want to move more, and this is something that if you are looking for more movement or more freedom of movement, this is something that can help as well a lot. And guys, it's like this process of building this methodology of teaching, of bringing people from a movement culture and teaching people mostly nowadays from a no-movement culture, this is something that have helped a lot as well with how the dance is being received in Brazil too, because we feel that people there are starting to appreciate more the more technical classes, I think, because before it was very clear for us that most people didn't have a lot of patience for a lot of technique and like too much of a deep explanation. It's like, I got it. I just want to do it. Yeah.
You showed, I already saw it. I felt how it is. I got it. Now I just need to do it to make it happen. But then you were still explaining a lot of stuff. Then there was this impatient feeling from the students. But now they are like, they want that, because they sometimes they realize that, okay, they felt it, they got it, but it's not really working as it should, So they really need to understand a little bit more the structure sometimes.
And what happens is this process of the spread of Brazilian Zouk to all these other countries, it's something that helped a lot with the development and the improvement of the technique and of the teaching methodology of many instructors. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen at some point, but it for sure made it happen faster. So we started working on official counting, official names for patterns.
Yeah.
All of these that we didn't pay much attention like 15 years ago back in Brazil. We were using just like the sounds and the numbers of this counting steps.
It wasn't so spread like this. No.
And we never ever in Brazil had a question about it. It's like people don't ask about it. It's like they just, okay, I can see what you're doing, I can try and reproduce it, and then we go.
And then, of course, guys, there were those that, they asked those questions, but we are talking about a minority. I was one that questioned some things, but like, I don't count when we talk generally.
Yeah. Right? So, then it was a very good thing, like, actually, the encounter of, like, these two aspects, because it made us develop a lot. Yeah. As instructors, and Brazilian Zouk itself to develop a lot as a dance as well, to start and being more like not more technical, because it was it has always been a technical dance, but like polish more, even the way to teach, to polish more the technique, to polish more the communication, and we were lucky to get in contact with that very early on in our career, and also build a lot of our methodology on top of this meeting as well. I don't think we should have like the best. We should try and get best of both worlds. In one way of teaching, in one methodology, and also have the understanding that cultural backgrounds are something that are really, really strong. Yeah. It's something that really takes time. So as Cheryl said in her comment, like she feels that Asia has a long way to go. To Brazil to get like
many other countries see
to be like Brazil. Many other countries also have this way to go. I'm not sure if this should be a goal. I don't think everybody should dance like Brazilians. It's like it's not mandatory for you to dance Brazilian Zouk that you dance exactly like a Brazilian person dance. And it's like we should keep a little bit of that in mind as well, because some people will never dance exactly like a Brazilian person, and this is not a bad thing necessarily.
This is totally okay.
This is okay, right? Like you can still enjoy the dance, you can still have fun, you can still respect and be immersed in the culture.
And dance beautifully.
Exactly. But don't be like frustrated, because it is a long time. It's like it's a lot of cultural backgrounds that we are dealing with. It's a lot of it's a lifetime, because a lot of people come to dance, to social dance already as adults. So you have a lifetime of how would I say, beliefs, and a way of movement, and a relationship with movement itself, so we have to also respect that, and sometimes deal a little bit with the frustration, like of not having that exactly, Brazilian feel.
Yeah, and also sometimes as a teacher, like you are not 100% responsible for that transformation, because sometimes you get the students, the student, you start the work on like learning on all this stuff, the student is getting all the information, is learning well, then there is an order that you need to build all these things to start working on different aspects, and then when you finally feel like, okay, now I think I can start working on this feeling of moving, and then letting go a little bit more of the technique, and so the energy comes, and this good vibe that I saw in Brazil comes here to those students. But then, for your surprise, the next month or the next season, maybe that student doesn't continue because there was a work schedule change or something. They are not there with you anymore. Then you cannot continue their work that was going great. But then 1 year after or 6 months after, they return. And when they return, you see that a lot of things that have faded away, Then you need to go back a little bit to restore those things and start doing. And then when you start to get to the point like, okay, now we're going to do it, they leave again because of something else. So there are so many other things that can happen on the way that doesn't make it go quick as you wished. But it's like the ones that are there with taking classes all the time, that you can really follow up and build the knowledge little by little, working on the things. that you need, you may see the difference, but it's like they're the same way there are fast learners and slow learners. All of them, they learn at some point, you know, like one's faster, the other one's slower, but they will get at some point where in this desire that you are looking for, you know, on your students, like that they're gonna dance this way. And another thing that helps a lot is that you guys also open their horizon, you know, like what I mean is that make them see other things too, because this is also gonna reinforce the things you always address to these students, because sometimes you say one thing or another thing and you say many times, but as they are every time with you, they kind of have a feeling sometimes that now I know what they're gonna say, they're gonna explain this part of how this works. But then, of course, there are new informations on those explanations that maybe because they kind of expect, or like, I think I know what's going to come, and they distract, they don't listen. And then they don't progress in that particular thing. And then later on, another teacher in a workshop that you invite some guest artists, they come and they say exactly what you were saying. And the student like, oh my God, now I got it. Now I got it. I didn't know that. And then, of course, you have been saying this many, many times. But then it was great because you could bring someone else that would say exactly the same thing, maybe in a different way, maybe in a different perspective, but basically the same thing. But because it's a new person, they are with the attention 100%. And then they get the information. And in the end, that's what you wanted. Coming from you or from another one doesn't matter, but you wanted that to be understood, you know.
So to spread out the number of references that you bring out to your students is something that is really going to help with this as well. Like the more they see people dancing the way you want them to dance, more references they have to try and bring this for themselves, you know. Also, there is this, for example, with our students here, we see very clearly that the ones that has a more let's say like a warmer way to dance, like a way that that gets closer to like the Brazilian way of dancing, those people, they usually travel more to dance with more different people from different places. So they travel more to events, to congresses, and even to Brazil. A lot of them already went to Brazil, and we could see a very big difference, like in a way that they move, and in the way that they end up like applying the techniques and things like this. So to increase the number of references, not only from the professionals you bring to give workshops at your studio, your city, or your event, but also try to influence that they would go out to dance with people from another country, different people with different backgrounds, with different energy, because the exercise is itself to adapt to it. We already break so many barriers, and also the energy when you are in an international place with people from different places in the world and different experiences. This also open up yourself in an energetic, like in a psychological way. That is like make you move more freely, in a more complex manner, like, in a deeper state of surrender to that specific like dance style. So this is something that is very important for us to try and encourage itself, them to do that, right? And this is something also that it's not so easy, because it involves a lot of like financial, investments and things like this. But this is something that we can try and always make sure that they understand that this is as important for their development, like going to parties, dancing with different people, going to events, try maybe plan a visit to the place of origin of that specific dance to try and breathe and feel that vibe. That is like different. That once they feel it, they may get a little bit closer to what it means, and how they can achieve that if that's the wish, always like trying to make sure they understand that this would be something that would be very beneficial as well if possible.
Yeah, this is really good thing, because when we have these students visiting an event or congress out of Brazil, for example, they see a lot of Brazilians there coming with that energy, with that vibe, but they are kind of a group among a lot of people. But when they have the opportunity, for example, to go to Brazil to feel their vibe, they see like the vibe, and a few ones from outside that don't have their vibe, you know. So they see the majority working their way. So this is a good experience. For example, if you have students, they are more like, for example, advanced level, and they are working, you see that they have a lot of knowledge already in content, in movements, in patterns, combination. They work with the music nicely, but it's missing that, you know, that fire, you know. Maybe it's something good like that they can go to Brazil, if they can, of course, with all these things, money-wise and time. But go for this vibe, you know, like to feel this, to go to the parties and then feel how it is, how it pulses,
really,
you know.
experience.
Yeah, the experience of all this, because of course they can learn in Brazil as well, and they can learn outside of Brazil. Nowadays we have a lot of excellent teachers in Brazil as well as out of Brazil. Yeah. So, but one thing that is really good, that is still like super strong, only and mainly in Brazil, is this pulse, this vibration, you know. And little by little we are getting a little bit more towards the other countries outside, but it's still like, it's the source. This is something that it's good to experience, because you have a real reference, a real feeling. It's not only the reference of a group of people doing this in an event.
Yeah, and guys, again, this is something that is a little bit more subjective,
yeah, it's
you
more
know,
subjective.
than, you know, how could I just make my lateral better, or how could I like better teach head movement. It's something that really goes deep into some beliefs that we didn't even know that we have, because it's something that is immersed in our culture. For example, there was one time that we were promoting Brazilian Zouk here, and we shared a video somewhere online, and a Finnish person, she wrote like, "Oh, this is so cool, this is very nice, but don't ever expect a Finnish person to dance like this. We can never dance this dance."
Yeah, true. I remember that. Yeah.
And then I immediately was like, and we already like by that point we already had like Finnish instructors teaching Brazilian Zouk here, you know, in Finland. Some formed by us, most like, but other people also teaching like Lamba Zouk style, like other styles as well. And so I immediately got a video from the couple of instructors that we formed, Yuka and Sonia. And I posted to her, and I said to her like, very nice, and then like, okay, so just have a look at this couple. They are both Finnish and they are rocking it, and you know, maybe you should believe a little bit more in what Finnish people can do, because it's like, but you know what we are going against? We are going against this.
It's a culture.
This type of belief, you know, that people have, like, I am Asian, so I will never move like this. I am Finnish, so I'll never move like this. I'm American, so I'll never move like this. So we are going, and some people really think that as this lady, but some people has this so much in the back of their mind that they don't even know that they believe this. So they will show up to class, but it's still somewhere in them, they still believe it. So this is something very deep that we are attempting to reach. You know, so we have to have patience. First of all, we have to understand if people really want that, because sometimes they don't want to. Not necessarily they want to exactly move and dance like a Brazilian.
Yeah, there are different goals
exactly.
in the classroom.
And we have to understand that it really takes time. But again, like the best way to reach this outcome, if that's what you're looking for, is trying to create a balance between these two worlds. Like the way to teach in a way that you teach in a country like Brazil, for example, where you're gonna set a time to really work on just like feeling and senses and experiences, and you're gonna set a time to address the learning process in the way that those cultures can actually learn and make sure that they understand what they are doing and the hows and the whys, you know, which for them is like very, very important. So I believe that once we find this balance or we develop this balance in our methodology, we have like all the chances to make sure that people dance like amazingly, you know, either if it's gonna be exactly like a Brazilian person or not, like it's gonna be good, and that's the most important thing, you know.
That's the thing, is if it attends all the characteristics, the rules, like the technique is good, it's comfortable, it's musical, it's everything, it doesn't need to look like anything. It's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be comfortable, it's gonna be good. This is what matters.
Yeah, that's what matters. And it's like we always try, because we are very, as we said in the beginning, we are, even for us nowadays, it's even more comfortable for us to teach like really technically. Like we set ourselves more like, because that's how our minds work. And it was, even in Brazil, it was like this. We were always the ones asking questions. We were always the ones trying to really strip the movement to its core, you know. It's like, no, it's not only because it's this way, but why is this way? Like what, like, you know, give me a reason.
This why, because like this way you can do this way, but I can also do that way. Why should I do this way? Then the reasons why, the pros and cons, you know, like, because sometimes we have a lot of possibilities for the same things. Like it's kind of like everything is possible. I always say this, everything is possible, but not everything is appropriated. Like this is a rule for life, you know, like many things in life are possible, but not everything is appropriated. So then we just need to see like what is more like efficient effort, you know, like the way that we consume less, but we have more result, you know. So what is the best way to do it? Like why I'm gonna go for a harder way to do the same if I can have the same result in a very easier way and with efficient effort, for example, you know, like that. It's easy, you know, I don't feel it, just flow. So these things are good to be understood and explained, you know.
Yeah.
So I at least always like this. Sometimes I felt that it was lacking in this, like in many classes that I visited, but then I go for it, I look for it, you know. So that was me as a student. I was always going for the information. I was never just waiting for the information. You know, like when I identified myself with a certain instructor, I was going like, okay, so I need to get a private, or I need to talk a little bit more with that guy or that girl, and I need to understand why they said that way, because it's so different. And then like, yeah, it makes completely sense. Yeah, I'm going for it now. So it's a lot on the students to like the process of learning, you know.
Yeah, and for you as a teacher or an instructor, if you are trying to work on those aspects in your community, make sure that when you are planning out your season, your year, like your month, or your classes, and like however you divide them, set aside the times to make sure that you pass forward the culture of the dance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes also there's some shyness with all the touch, with all the hips swinging and everything. So if they understand that, okay, for us, like in Brazil, where the dance comes from, this is normal. This
we
is
touch a lot.
Yeah. You know, you can touch hip to hip. That's okay. And you know,
doesn't mean anything.
So start bringing a little bit more confidence in the sense for them. Set aside the time to really practice as well. Just the freedom of movement, energy, putting out of energy, you know, like practice, like just music, just listening, just like, you know, exercises, for example, to do the roda as well, like a lot in class.
When we have birthdays, someone celebrating birthday.
You know, exercises like that, where they will exercise more this like bringing out feeling, you know, like we have these rodas that we have the birthday roda. You can do that in class even if it's not a birthday, just to make sure that people have fun and let go and try to change partners in a more fun way.
It's a great exercise.
You know, it's a great exercise to exercise that this as well, like more higher energy. songs to make sure that they move more, you know, exercises of like using the whole classroom. So you have to go from one point up to the other. They're gonna have to move more, so you're gonna have to use more energy.
They don't dance is stuck in one spot, they need to move.
So set a time to have exercises and have really moments like that in class, you know, where they will exercise those interactions, right, rather than just technique. And of course the core of your teaching, that are gonna be the technique and the mechanics and the math and the angles and all the biomechanics and all the concepts and all the engineer ways. So this is the core, but make sure you set aside enough time for those other practice as well. You can do as regular workshops. You can do inside your regular class. We do a lot inside of our regular class, and we see, and when we see that we need a little bit more, we do separate workshops for that.
This is one of the reasons why most of teachers, they always say that the best way to learn is with regular classes, because of course you can plan one topic to work, and then maybe in the first class you're gonna go all about the math, all about the structure, engineer all that class, and then the second class it's more about the feeling, you go more with like letting go things. The third class is still on the topic, you go more blending both together, because when you focus on one you sacrifice a little bit the other. So then we try to find the balance, or the other way around. There are many different ways to work with it. This is just an example, but because you have that group always with you coming back, so you can follow up and then make this work, you know, like in a progressive way. So then it's way better, way easier, like for you as a teacher and for the student as a learner, you know, to understand everything.
So guys, that's it. We wanted to share a little bit with you guys. Let me just say a few things here. We came across an article a while ago that really aligned with our way of thinking and the way we developed our methodology regarding this encounter of like these two different like cultures, you know, the movement culture, the no movement culture. And we are gonna link as well for you guys
in the Telegram group
and the channel, and also on Facebook. We're gonna leave the link of the article. There's also a chart that shows a little bit the difference, the different ways of teaching and the different ways of learning. This is not something that was made by us, but it's something that we came across that completely align with the way we think. We just think the only difference is like they mention a lot of like cross training, like so you can do a little bit of one, but we think about more blending both. You know,
make it hybrid.
Making more of a hybrid way. So we're gonna leave out these references as well for you guys if you guys want to check it out. Thank you for the ones who are watching. We are gonna be here for a while every Monday, and make sure that you suggest topics for us, what you want to know, what you want to talk about. It can be more technical, it can be more subjective like this one. We would love to hear from you what you guys think about this, about your experience in a movement or no movement culture, like either teaching or learning, what you guys think about that. And stay tuned to the Telegram channel. We're gonna post more information there as well. And thank you so much for the ones who stayed with us watching. It was the first time. We were very excited and we were a little bit nervous as well to see if the setup would work. And
it's always like these lives, we never know, but yeah guys, we are so if you are on Facebook, you need to just request to enter in the group, and we're gonna of course like let you in. And on Telegram you just click on the link, you get into in the channel, and there we put more, we go a little bit deeper with audios there, because as it's easier, we get the phone, we just record and then we put there like on subjects, and everything is in the description of the video, okay, in the description link. And make sure you also give a like in this video, subscribe to the channel so you get the reminder every time we put the next video for the next Methodology Mondays, and whatever video we put, you're gonna be notified.
And if you like this content, make sure to share with your friends as well. Maybe they are interested in this conversation.
And you can also suggest your friends to join the group, because you can invite them and then we just accept them, and then we create a very nice discussion there, and and a healthy group to work about methodology and talk about this.
Yeah, so leave your suggestions either in the comments or in the Facebook group or in the Telegram channel for us to be here again talking to you guys next Monday. I hope you guys have a great week. And that's it. We're wrapping up for now.
That's it, guys. So see you guys soon.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Over and out.